Hey guys, welcome back to our backyard chat. And we are going over What's in the Bible, Volume 12, Session number 1 this week. Now, this was a shorter one and it talked a lot about letters. That's right, some letters that Paul had written to the churches. And it's really interesting, some of the information it gives us. It even points out the fact that Paul had written these letters before the Gospels had been written. These were some of the very first things that Christians that have become new believers to Christ all over the area could reference and look to find direction on, well, what it meant to be a Christian, what it meant to be a good follower of Christ, and how they should treat each other. You see, one of the key things that I love that the video talked about was reconciling. I know that in my past, there was times that I would, act like not such a good friend with someone. I know that one of my dear friends now, and has always been a dear friend to me, his name was Dino, his actual name was Brandon. There was a time that I was having a bad time in my life. I felt stressed out. I was being picked on a little bit and bullied by some other kids. I was trying to find my place and how to fit in. And for whatever reason, I thought if I reacted to him and I hit him and I got in a fight with him, it would make me look tough. It would make me look strong, and other kids would like me. And other kids would leave me alone that might be bothering me. That was such a wrong view. That was such a wrong thing, because Brandon had been nothing but a good friend to me my entire time that I had ever known him. And I remember, oh, by the way, Brandon was really bigger than me and was a really good wrestler. So this is how this story goes. Jimmy, which was smaller, thought it would be a great idea to hit Brandon because Brandon was splashed him with some rainwater. Speaking of rain, it was kind of rainy today when I made this video. And so he was splashing me with water. Nothing big, nothing bad. And instead of just being a good friend and saying, man, will you please stop that? And talking to him and having an actual friendship relationship, I'm going to be tough, and I reared back and I hit him. And just like you see in the movies, it knocked him all the way across the room, right? No. In real life, when you react to someone like that, it is not what you see in the movies. Well, to make this story a little bit shorter, here's what happens next. I hit Brandon, which is bigger than me. He so kindly just kind of goes, and looks at me like, what are you doing, Jimmy? And I don't really remember what happens next. I think I grabbed his arms, and Brandon, which was a really, really good wrestler, just kind of throws me and flings me down this little hill that we were standing at the top of, and I slide all the way down this hill, and I've got muddy pants, which I had to explain to my mom later when I got home. And that was the end of it. Now, the cool thing is Brandon was always, or Dino, I like to call him his nickname, he was always such a really good friend to me that he just looked right past that. Matter of fact, that weekend I spent the night at his house, and we became really, really close friends from that point on. Why am I talking about all that? Well, I could have, at the bottom of that hill and after that, I could have just been more mad at Brandon and decided just to hate him for the rest of my life and get even. But instead, I used one of the words that this lesson in What's in the Bible taught us about. It was called reconciling. I reconciled my friendship with Brandon. I fixed my friendship with Brandon by talking to him and getting past something that had broken our friendship for a momentary time. You know, the word that they used, reconcile, it means to put back together, to fix a relationship. And I loved how it really went all the way back to the beginning, talking about how God's relationship with all of creation had been broken. It had been broken by sin. And when Jesus Christ came to this earth, when his son was sent to this earth, and Jesus died on that cross, when Jesus did that, he fixed that relationship between God and the believers. Those that believe in Jesus Christ, those that have a relationship with Jesus Christ, they also have a relationship and a reconciled relationship with the Father in heaven. That is such an important thing for us to learn and remember. So how does this work in our everyday lives? I'm thinking, since we've all been kind of locked in our houses for like a month under quarantine, I'm sure that you've kind of gotten on each other's nerves just a little bit. No matter how much you love everyone that we live with, sometimes we get on each other's nerves. There's probably been a moment where you've said something, maybe even mean, to your mother or your father, a brother or sister, cousin, maybe even a friend over the phone you've said something mean to. And kids, God does not want us to leave that alone. He wants us to reconcile and to love each other, because we as Christians, as followers of Christ, are supposed to show this broken world what it means to be a follower. And being a follower does not mean that we're just mean and nasty to each other. That is not mirroring or showing the world what Jesus is like, because Jesus is not that way. Instead, we should reconcile those relationships. If you have at some time this last 2 or 3 or 4 weeks said something to your mom or dad because they got onto you for probably doing something you're not supposed to, and you said, "I hate you," or "I'm mad at you," or "you're mean," if you've said something like that, I would strongly encourage you to go to mom and dad. They may have totally forgotten about it by now because they love you so much. But I would strongly recommend that you go to your mom and dad or your brother or sister or whoever you treated that way and say, "Hey, you may not remember this, but I do. And I said something pretty hurtful a week ago, 3 days ago, whenever it was. And I'm really sorry about that, because that's not the way that I feel about you." Reconcile. Fix those broken relationships. Even if the relationship doesn't seem broken, fix it. That is what we're supposed to do as Christians. You see, the letters that Paul wrote, all of those turned into books, 13 books in the Bible. And those go as far as teaching churches how to react and treat each other, how as leaders of the churches and even pastors, we should handle situations and lead others. But they all show us as Christians how we're supposed to love one another, how we're supposed to care for one another. A matter of fact, that is going to be today's Kingdom Kids Superstar Quiz, okay? So here comes the Superstar Quiz question for you, all right? Christians love, it's different than the world. Remember, the world has the meaning of love to the world means an emotional thing. And a Christian's love can be emotional too. But when Paul is telling us about a Christian's love, it means a Christian's love is something that, 2 words. Let's see if you guys can answer that. Are you ready again? A Christian's love is something that, 2 words there, guys, okay? Let's see if you can answer that one for you. I hope that you guys are having a wonderful time right now and just enjoying each other, loving on each other, and having a great family moment in your household. We love you guys. We hope to see you back soon. But until then, I'm very appreciative that God has given us the ability to meet like this. We love you guys. Bye-bye.